right?
He is. I mean, we're on Fallon with him tomorrow, so I was wondering, like,
Wow, nice.
That's cool.
Yeah,
is
you'll
that,
see him tomorrow.
yeah, is that what he's promoting? Is like the Portlandia season?
Yeah, the final season.
Oh, there you go.
Hey, what's up? This is Elia Einhorn. Welcome to the Talkhouse Music Podcast. We're broadcasting today live from the flagship Sonos Store here in semi-sunny Soho, NYC, 101 Green Street. This is a series we've been doing where it's, as usual on the podcast, artist on artist and long-form, unmoderated conversation. You might have caught one of our guests today, DJ Prince Paul, along with DJ Premier recently. You might have caught Kathleen Hanna from Bikini Kill. You might have caught Meredith Graves. We've had a lot of great artists come through here.
Wow.
You might have noticed Thurston Moore's cassette wall over here, Wayne.
I didn't know that was his, but that's impressive. Yeah.
It is.
Wow.
Well, we have a couple amazing guests today, and I just want to introduce them very briefly before I leave the guys to chat.
All right.
The absolute legendary hip-hop producer, Prince Paul.
Ooh, I'm feeling good about myself.
Yeah.
He is Stetsasonic, De La
All right.
Soul's producer.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm talking about Gravediggers, Handsome Boy Modeling School, and your newest project, Brookzilla. Blending Brazil and hip-hop from Brooklyn.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, man. And we have the one and only psychedelic adventurer for over 30 years now. Here.
Now I'm feeling old. So you were like, your story, you're like, oh man, I'm feeling, now it's like 30 years. Man, thank you.
I'm a man of a certain age too, trust me. Yeah.
The Flaming Lips, Wayne Coyne. I'm going to leave these men of a certain age to chat for you. I'll be right back.
Wow.
Fans, leave your questions on Facebook and we'll ask the gents.
Oh man, this is going to get interesting.
Yeah. Well,
you
know, before we were, I mean, we'd been sitting here for a few minutes without the show going. And I just immediately jumped into asking
about transmitting live on Mars.
which I feel like it's a game changing, whatever that means in the world. It's like to hear that song on like a crazy popular record, like the first De La Soul record, and to be like, what is that track? You know, I think it was before we really understood really what sampling was. You know, back then we were just taking like little bits off of people's records and just recording them into our cassette 4-track and then putting them on our records.
Yeah, and unfortunately, I had a big lawsuit behind that record as well. But you know,
like after, like immediately when you did it, or it had been out for a while, and then
it was probably out like a couple of months. But you know, the crazy thing is, having that lawsuit really didn't matter because I didn't make any money before that, so I didn't know what it was like to have money, right. let alone lose money.
Was it money that you hadn't, that the record hadn't earned yet? Or
yeah, I mean, you know, because before then I was in a group called Stetsasonic, and you know, I was making, you know, lunch money.
Yeah,
you know, because you do it for the love. And then
Mm-hmm.
later on, when I made this record, unbeknownst to all of us, it did really well, really fast.
It did. Do you feel like if it hadn't done so well, the song would be out there and no one would care?
Oh, of course.
And did you get the feeling that they thought, hey, you're making all this money, we want ours, and you're like, we're not making all that much money, and they still want theirs? Is that how it went?
I guess I wouldn't say just that, because at that point the record started selling and started charting really fast, and you know, getting a cult following. So
it was,
you know, so I'm sure the cha-ching effect, cha-ching, the money signs in the eyes, came up in the eyes, and I mean, I would have did the same thing, you know, in hindsight, you know.
Did you not think that was going to happen, or you hadn't considered it, or you thought it might happen?
Oh no, I mean, I was a kid. I probably didn't care then, because it was all about the music. It had nothing to do. I didn't
exactly. Yeah.
You know, you give it to the label. It's in the label's hands. It's in the lawyer's hands.
And you felt like if there's going to be some trouble, they would probably.
Oh yeah, because I know I wasn't going to get in trouble, because I was like, I did my part, you know. And that's a long debate. The label will go and say probably something different. But I mean, as time went on, you know. Things kind of worked itself out.
Did you change? I mean, we're talking about the Turtle song,
right?
Yeah. Did you change it at all, or was that just that's the way it is on the record, and then you loop it?
Yeah, you just we just threw a beat underneath it, find low key points that we said, okay, you know, maybe the first 2 bars, maybe this part when the violins come in. You know, Paz had a lot in the group, had a lot of putting that together, and then it was, you know.
Did you?
Then all the magic happened.
So it was. The not the Turtles themselves, not the people in the group, but like a publishing entity.
No, see, now this is where the story gets beautiful. This is what was told to me, is that apparently one of the guys in the group of the Turtles, his daughter was playing the De La Soul record in the house, and you know, he's chilling, and all of a sudden he walks past and he hears this song. He goes, peeps his head back and he looks in and goes, "Hey, play that again. That's my song. Who made this record?" And that's how it all started.
Like for the bad or for the good? Like he liked it or he didn't like it, or
No, he thought of, "That's my song. I want my money."
Oh,
You know what I'm saying? It wasn't even more like, who recorded my record and what is that French crap, probably, I'm just guessing, on my song.
right.
You know, and that's
For
how
me personally, if you took one of our songs and you did something like that, I would say, I think that's wicked, and I would just say, man, I think that's the coolest thing ever. And for me personally, I wouldn't have asked for anything.
Wow.
For me,
I
I mean, because it's, for me, when people talk about stealing music, I always say, it's not like if I stole your bicycle.
Right.
And what I mean is, if you have a bicycle and I take it, I have your bicycle and you don't. With music,
That's a good
it's
way of
like
looking at it.
you are using his music, but his music is still there.
Right.
It still exists. Nothing has changed about the way it was presented to the world before. And now, to some knowledgeable people, they may know, oh, you're repurposing or reimagining this thing. But for most people, like initially myself, I just thought it was a cool, imaginative, otherworldly track.
Hey, I thought it was a cool, imaginative, worldly record, but
Yeah.
everything is perspective, as you know. Let me wait. Hold
Okay.
Before you go, let me ask a question, because I've been meaning to ask you this, because you've been making music forever, and I think one of the there's many cool things, is that you walk your own walk. Like you do you. Through
Yes.
there's a
Yes, thank you.
There's
Yeah.
a common theme through your records that it's you.
Right.
But the music changes and it's consistent. Like you're always consistent. Like, how do you do that? Like, I mean, is it like a thought every day, I'm going to start just making music, or even writing lyrics?
Right. Well, I mean, I think mostly I'm lucky, when anything
we're
works.
talking about decades. We're not talking about I did it for a few months.
But
like, that's difficult, and be very good at it.
Well, I think there would be different versions of when someone says they're obsessed.
Right.
Half the people would say, yeah, that's horrible that you're so obsessed. And half of them would say, yeah, he's so wonderfully consumed by this thing. And so it's probably that. But I think it's mostly that the world has allowed me to be the singer of the Flaming Lips, even though I can't sing. You know what I mean? I'm just I'm absolutely the first one to stand up and say, I love Gladys Knight, I love Tom Jones, I love the Beatles, but I'm not a singer like that. I'm like a singer like Anthony from the Red Hot Chili Peppers, or any of these.
It's
dudes.
still singing. Look at Jimi Hendrix. We
talk about Jimmy a lot. But it's like, if people didn't like the way he sang, they wouldn't have liked him.
Yeah,
and if you didn't like the way he sang, you probably would have never considered his guitar playing. Everybody thinks he's this great guitar player. I think he's a great singer.
Yeah, I love his music.
Yeah, but he's a great singer, even though most people talk about his guitar playing, which is otherworldly, But since I can't really sing, I think I'm always diving in and out of what's charming and what's horrible. And luckily I have Steven and Dave Fridman and people around me to say, that's charming, that other thing's horrible. We'll change that. And with as technology gets more, technology is made, I think, just for me. It's like now if I don't sing a note perfectly, which I never do really, but they can start taking and be like, it's close enough, and with auto-tune and all these great tricks.
No, you don't do that. You really do that?
Absolutely, yeah.
So what did you do in the past before all the...
Well, we'd do a lot of takes, and we'd blend them. I mean, there's a lot of tricks with delays and effects and doubling your voice and all that. Yeah, I mean, I would do absolutely anything.
This is amazing to me. I didn't know that. I just thought that, it was like, man, I'm sticking to whatever old school. Run the tape. I don't want Pro Tools.
No, I have no ethos at all. I have no way. I mean, to me, if it works, I don't care how we get there. I mean, as long as no people are hurt, and it's, it's art, it's music. And I'm, it's, if whatever the magic is, I mean, it's like we were just talking about with that track you were doing. It's like, who knows why it is making us happy? Who knows what it is? And so I'm the first to surrender to this chaotic stuff and say, oh, well, if it's working, let's do that. And so I think it's probably, if I'm singing, you think, well, it must be the Flaming Lips, because no other group would want that. And
stop it!
But I think I'm very lucky. And then so that thing, and we've been lucky enough that we've had enough success that it lets you keep going, but not the mega like overwhelming success that if you're young and everything is like, it just throws you off course, So I think we've been lucky that we can just be like, we just like making records. And we've never been so successful that it would make sense to keep doing the same thing over and over. I mean, some groups, you think of like an Elton John or a Coldplay or somebody, it's like, do you want to be weird or you want to make $10 million a day? I'd be like, well, so I've been weird. 10 million a day would be great. I mean, there's just too great of a demand to make more of the same. That would be my feeling.
Oh, and it's easy to kind of repeat the same formula and stuff.
I mean,
again.
I don't know. We feel horrible when we've robbed ourselves of that special thing when we chase after something, even if we don't always get there, only because we've done it, where we thought, well, this isn't that good, but maybe people will like it. And then neither one works. You don't like it, nobody likes it, and then you're stuck going, why do we do that,
Well, I mean, just to backstep a little bit from what you said, just about creating, like lyrically, like you're all over the place, and I'll give you that. Like it's here, it's there. It's like from the bizarre to the like, wow, that's really profound.
Well, thank you.
To the profoundly bizarre, which is great.
That is a high compliment.
No, but
for sure.
Yeah, okay, but what I'm saying is, like, where do you reach from to get that? And and I go about consistency again to constantly go there. And then what does your band say? I mean, is it one of those situations like, Wayne is thinking of eggs. I'm writing a song of eggs. And they go, yeah, we're feeling eggs too. Or do you have to convince them? Or how does this go about? What's the synergy?
Well, I think it hasn't always been this way, but, for a little while now, I think we allow the little weirdnesses that each other has. I was talking about the charming parts of my singing versus the stuff that's unpleasant. I think with Steven, the other main musician and writer in the group, and Dave Friedman, our producer, you feel like if it's really bad, they're going to help you and say, okay, that's not good. And, to try to be thick-skinned about it and say, and I think the more you do it, the less of that comes into it. I may think it's the greatest thing ever, but if it's not really working, I'll just go, okay, well, it didn't work. I'll just try something else. That probably helps, but that I'm older too. I think when you're younger, your feelings have so much to do.
It is way different, right?
With everything, which is wonderful because you have this great guide of, well, I want to do this because I feel this way. And I think as you get older, you're not, that doesn't guide you as much, and you may feel like, I don't really know why I'm here. But in time, I think you can say, I know why I'm here, even if I feel this way, other bits of me don't, and you have more, a sort of personal decision to make. But with me, I think sometimes I just get very lucky that I'm already going to be singing. And sometimes you just sing things out. You know this from working with people.
Right.
They don't know what they're going to say, and then they say the greatest thing just comes out of your mouth. And this, to me, I just say, never underestimate the power of articulation, because there's what you're thinking, and there's sometimes what you're saying. But like what you and I are doing right now, it's neither one. I'm not really thinking about what I'm going to say, and I don't have there's nothing there except that flow of articulation, which I think is the most powerful. That's why I think watching like someone like Richard Pryor the other night, it's like he's so outrageously funny, but it feels like he's just thinking, he's just talking right there on the spot, and there's just a power to that. And I think singing, if you're lucky, we have our own studio, so we can spend a lot of time.
Oh, that's
which
nice.
Which sometimes I think is restricted to people because you get one or two takes. And in hindsight, you're like, oh, I wish I could do that again, to where when I have that hindsight, if the record isn't already out, I just do it again and try again. And
Have you found that sometimes your first takes are the best ones, or you?
Totally, yeah. And with, like I said, with the helpers, having Steven there and Dave Fridman, who's a master producer, and I could see he's taking notes and he's making me sing it, 3 or 4 other times. I never do like 100 takes.
There's none of those sessions. Let's take 95.
Yeah.
Can we play that back?
I mean, I wish that there could be some acceleration of qualities as I did it, but I wouldn't really know if I'm sharp or flat or any of that. But they'll encourage me to be like, oh, try this, and they'll maybe sing a piece of a melody, and I can sometimes tell when they laughed, like, he didn't do what we asked him, but what he did is really great. And Stephen and Dave would go, oh, that's the 13th note, and then he does this minor over here. And so I think without their help, I would be a very normal, boring singer. But with their help, they're seeing my eccentricities and charm happen. And like I said, then through the wonders of technology, take away the things that don't work, just keep the things that do. And that's amazing. That's a wonderful, wonderful way to go about creating that track. And even though it's me singing, there's a lot of, structure, and there's a lot of, picking pieces to make it work. And in the early days, when we weren't aware of all that or weren't thinking that it could work like that, I don't think they're as charming. I don't think the records are as charming. And occasionally we would do something that really worked, and we would ponder for a long time. Why does that work? And why does the other things not work? And why do they like this track? And why do they not like that track? And so, but that's a struggle everybody has.
So let me ask you this. It's like I'm listening to you, and a lot of it obviously is because you're been around for a while, you recorded for a while, and you gain a certain amount of wisdom and knowledge.
Yeah.
Were you always like this?
No.
We find like a 10-year-old Wayne going, when I think of toys, I'm thinking.
Well, I think I'm lucky that I was always annoyingly curious. Like in that way, I come in immediately like, "Hey, man, how'd you do that?" And when people are not like you, but when people are more guarded or whatever, that is quickly annoying. Like, hey, man, none of your business how I did that. That's,
Really, that would happen to you? Like people would get like kind of like touchy with it?
Yeah. There's a guy who, this a long, long time ago, was a guy recorded by the name of Scraping Fetus Off the Wheel. Does anybody know that artist anyway? He did a very strange show there you go.
J.G. Thirlwell, he of Fetus.
I knew I was in the right place.
Venture Brothers.
Yeah. They did a show in Lawrence, Kansas, which is about a 5-hour drive from where I live in Oklahoma City, in Oklahoma. And he had a group with him called Einsters and Neubauten, which nobody had heard of, but we did. And we drove up there, and because the Flaming Lips had their very first album out, and we had played in Lawrence previous to this, the people who put on the show let me come backstage and just do whatever I wanted. There was only about 50 people there, but it was still a pretty, kind of a holy land of coolness back there, and I had been invited to come back there and hang out. And Jim is his name, Jim Thirlwell. Yeah. And I was familiar with a lot of the stuff that he was doing at the time, but I didn't know that much about his life or whatever. And he seemed, and I could be wrong, but he seemed, when I was watching him, he seemed to have a little bit of an Elvis fascination, And I said, man, why do you like Elvis so much? I just don't dig him.
But I'm saying, how could you tell? What was he doing that was so Elvis-y?
He kind of had the, if you see pictures of him, you see he's kind of got the snarl and whatever. Right. And I didn't think it was good or bad. It was just a curiosity.
Right.
And I remember asking him, what's the deal with that? And everybody around was like, dude, you're not allowed to ask Jesus why he wears a beard, But to my surprise, Jim himself was very. It was like you. He was like, oh, I know, man. It's just, I don't know. It's kind of goofy, and I don't know what to do, so I just act like I'm Elvis sometimes. And I thought,
wow, that's cool.
Yeah, and I thought, now that's a great answer because you don't know what to do. I mean, if you knew what was cool, you'd just go and do it. But the minute you do it, you think, oh, what is this? Everything is contrived, and it's hard to be cool and to be honest. But I think, to me, no matter what you say, if it's true to you and it's honest, that is so much cooler than trying to be cool.
Yeah, that's true. Because then you sound like everybody else trying to do what everybody else does,
And who knows what's cool, you know?
Yeah, that's true. All right. You're definitely talking to the wrong person. You're talking to me. So, let me.
So being curious, I think, is always, you know, like how are records made? Not just asking the questions, but thinking like you guys would do. Like, I don't really know how records are made, and little by little you find out things and you try things, and being able to mess with it for a long, long time from an artistic point of view. And this word artist sometimes annoys me because it gets thrown around like, you know, if people are doing art, you should forgive no matter what they do. And I don't believe that. I think art is whatever you say it is. And there's great art and crappy art. And
you know what? That's so
whatever.
true. Because I went to a museum one time and they had a toilet there, and it had like somebody's name above it. And I couldn't figure out like what the art was behind that, but based on your definition or your perception,
it is.
That was
it
art.
is. Or how much you know about their intentions or them or anything.
True.
It is.
Life could have been in the toilet.
There's
right?
a lot of. I mean, there's just a lot of unknowns about it. But so for me, I think that curiosity in the group and in the people that were attracted to the group, the people that wanted to work with us and stuff, I think even when we got signed to Warner Brothers in 1990, you know, a couple of years after we were signed to Warner Brothers, I asked the woman who signed us. She had signed Van Halen and Devo and Dire Straits, all these mega groups to Warner Brothers. And I asked her a couple of years later, it's like, why did you sign us in the beginning? You know, thinking that she'd name a song or saw you guys do this or that. And she said, you know, Wayne, I just really liked your teeth. and part of me was like, yes, you know, because, and for her,
everybody's gonna look at your teeth now. You know, you can't help it. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, all of a sudden I got focused on your teeth.
But she, you know, she was an eccentric person, and she had, you know, luckily for me, really great weirdo tastes, you know, and there probably wouldn't have been a logical good reason to sign us, but she felt like she liked it enough to say, I'm going to let the company work with these guys. And it was wonderful. She absolutely changed our lives. We wouldn't be here right now if she didn't, at the time anyway, like my teeth. Yeah.
Oh man, you're too modest, man. Like, you know, I didn't listen to the demo, but I did see your teeth, and I was wondering if I could.
Well, it makes sense now. I mean, the longer that I know her and all that, I think she did really work with this great confidence of her intuition, saying this is what's important. I mean, who knows? I mean, who could ever guess why one record would work and why one wouldn't? I mean, who can know, you know?
Have you ever, like, played music for people? I know this happens to me. Or even, like, the new album, Oxymelody, right? That's how you pronounce
exactly.
it.
Exactly. You're like the first person that just said it. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, do you get people who come and listen to the song or even, like, the title and critics are good for this and make up what they think it is and then stick by it? Oxymelody, because if you realize back when Wayne, you know, was in high school, he had, and you go, that's not it. Well, you got to be misinterpreted a lot because you say a lot of outlandish things.
And I invite people's opinions. You know, like, oh, I don't know. What do you think? And you know, sometimes people,
I mean, some have to be totally off base sometimes. You know?
Yeah, but I mean, I think,
you're cool with it.
I mean, for me, I think music is at its best if it's, you know, kind of an abstraction that attaches itself to you.
Right.
And that way, you know, the lyrics and all the stuff that's happening, you kind of feel like, oh man, I can relate to this. This is, you know, they're speaking to me. And I think for me, that's music's most powerful element. And we don't always get lucky that we get to play with that. But when I make something that I think is really, really great, it should be kind of weird that you might think it's great. But if music is working its right way, it's just abstract enough that it doesn't have an absolute meaning put to it. You put most of the meaning to it. I give you a little bit, and it's wonderful.
But how about if it's something like that you're like, man, you know, this is a song about, it could be something real touching to you, and you meant a lot to you, and somebody's like, is this the time when you got shot? You're like, it has nothing to do with that. I never got shot.
Yeah.
You know, and you take it kind of personal? Like,
I would refrain from doing, even if I felt it in my mind, I would be like, that's okay. I mean, you know, I would allow that people should say I mean, to me, that's what music is. If it means that to you, then who am I to say it's not true, if it's true to you, you know? And I think that's music's greatest. I think that's why music is probably, it's the highest.
Right.
Because there's just a lot of mystery to it. We don't really know why it why it works. It gets in your mind and hits all these little spots, and in just a couple of moments, you're in another world. You're in another mood. You think something differently. And that is truly some kind of drug magic going on there, you know? So I don't know if we ever really want to know what it is, but I'm sure we're going to keep trying, because the minute we do, I'm going to do it every time. But I mean, you know, I think that longing and that trying and that, you know, that gives you a lot of power, especially to other listeners, because everybody is trying to be understood, whether you're a musician or not. You know, everybody wants people to get their thing, you know, and so, yeah, I don't know. I mean, mostly I would never be, you know, outwardly offended that someone said anything. I'd be like, oh, that's cool. You're wrong, or that's not what I intended. But I mean, I would allow that sometimes I hear what people think of songs, and I think it makes it absolutely better.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great.
And I mean, we have a song. So it's probably our most popular song. It's called "Do You Realize?" And when we wrote it, you know, it wasn't considered this powerful universal statement. You know, we were flowing along with songs on the Yoshimi Battles of Pinker Robots record, and it was one that we liked quite a bit, but it didn't stand out to say, you really did it that time.
Right,
you know,
right.
It was just, yeah, this is another fun, great song, and we worked on it and embraced it and all that stuff. But we were lucky that we didn't have that much time to work on it. And we kind of worked on it, and then we had to leave and take a break or something. And in this break, everybody around us immediately wants to hear all this stuff, and people started to hear it. And it was in this kind of folksy area. We were still going to mess with it and do stuff to it, but for the time being, it was in this kind of folksy, easy to understand sort of what the song is supposed to be about area. And the very moment people heard it, they're like, oh, that's the song. That's the song. I mean, that sounds like something I would play at my grandmother's funeral. And I'm like, wow. And I can tell you that if we had kept messing with it, you know, if we didn't have this restriction of you know, saying we're not satisfied with it, but people can hear it anyway, we probably would have not liked that it was so simple. We probably would have made it more cosmic, like some of our stuff can be. And it wouldn't have maybe penetrated that type of, for you to think that. And so I'm very lucky that this thing that we didn't have a lot of great intention for, it was a fun song, we were working on it, we embraced it or whatever, but now it has really become this very meaningful, great, you know, every songwriter in the world would love nothing more for someone to come up and say, you know, we used your song at the birth of my daughter last week. You know.
At the death of the grandma.
And then the death of, every show we play, there would be at least a couple of those. Births, deaths, you know, horrible things, beautiful things. But somewhere in this song, for them anyway, it has all that kind of optimism mixed with that. And I don't think you could do that on purpose. I think
that is beautiful.
Yeah.
It
just has to happen.
Because there's so much music that comes out that means nothing to nobody. You know what I'm saying? So even if it's out of death, I always say it like this, at least for myself. Hey, if you passionately hate it or love it, at least I made some type of impact.
Well,
if you just go like, next,
I don't. I don't care is like the worst.
Oh, it's the worst.
It's the enemy. Yeah, it is. But you know, for me, I'm lucky that, you know, having a collaborator like Steven, who has really an insane level of musicianship. You know, he's just one of these master musicians. I feel like he could play with Miles Davis if Miles Davis was still alive. He's of that caliber. And he's very drawn to these sort of sad, melancholy melodies. And so I think what happens is I hear his melodies and they immediately kind of affect me, and it makes me want to sing something to it, which would be out of my range. I mean, I couldn't come up with all the music and the melodies and then sing them, but his melodies, it's a little bit like when someone else scratches your head. I can easily scratch my head, works.
Right.
But when someone else scratches your head, man, it feels a lot better. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's nice when somebody else does a lot of stuff to you. You know, it kind of works.
Well, I wanted to keep the show watchable for the teenagers out there.
Hey, I'm
just saying. So I think his melodies and the way he writes affects me like that other hand, and I just feel it with a lot more, you know, intensity, and it allows me to sing these things. It could be considered cornball, but with the power of the melody sort of overwhelming you, I think I get to say some really cool things behind that.
Lyrics are really cool, and that's how I got put onto you, because it's always this. These are my friends. Yo, this dude is real weird. You'd like this. Yo, Flavor Lips is just really wild. You like this. I always get that.
Is
for some reason,
wonderful.
my personality.
No,
that's
so
cool.
So
as the universe would have it and willed us together, we are here, and I finally get to meet you, which is great.
We're going to know each other forever from now. From right now, we're going to know each other. We've already known each other. Yeah. We're going to know each other. I'm going to send you pictures at 3 o'clock in the morning of what I'm doing. We're gonna have fun.
That's a little too intimate.
Well, it'll be boring, but I'll still send it.
Well, guys, we got a few. We've had some people watching. I'm just going to come pop a squat between you.
Yeah.
Paul, I'm just going to kind of sit on your lap here.
Jesus.
So we've had some watchers, some listeners tuning in and dropping some questions. So hey, all you kids out there, this goes out to. Cool. This is from in the crowd.
Oh, cool.
We have Ian Williams of Battles.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
You a Battles fan, Wayne?
I don't know all their stuff, but I know some of it quite well. Yeah. I'd say I'm a fan, but I don't want to be called out to, like, what was their latest single?
Well, what was it? We a family. Yeah, we'll just take that. So there's a question from Ian Williams for Wayne.
Okay.
Ask him about whether he's in the Google Maps photograph sitting in a bathtub in his backyard.
See, not everybody's going to know what he's talking about, but I know what he's talking about.
Give us some context.
When Google Maps was traveling through Oklahoma City with their all-seeing eye on the top of the car, it's quite a while ago now. I don't know, was it 10 years ago or so? I was in my front yard constructing a big elaborate thing for Halloween for the neighborhood kids. And at the time, I think we have a sign up in some bathtubs, and it was called Blobs in the Bath. And I would start about 4 or 5 days before Halloween, and I would start to put this thing together. I have a pretty big area of a house in Oklahoma City, and the house that was next door to us, it got demolished, so it would be this big empty spot. So that's where I would do it at. And as I'd spend the 4 or 5 days just before Halloween, the kids in the neighborhood would just love this. They'd see this weird old guy out there, and they'd be like, "Hey, man, what are you doing?" And I would involve them and get them to help, and get involved with all the fake blood and all that sort of stuff. And so I'm doing it mostly. And my neighborhood is a pretty low income. Some of it's great, but some of it is horrible neighborhood. I've lived there my whole life. And to have these neighborhood kids who, some of them wouldn't have a Halloween. Some of them didn't have any costumes. They didn't have anybody to take them out trick-or-treating. I would do this thing mostly because I loved it and got to indulge this, mad scientist, doing Halloween, building Halloween things. But I also saw that, hey man, these kids in my neighborhood, they get to have a lot of fun doing this. There was a time where I made, in our show, I go out in a space bubble. It's really just a plastic bubble that I get inside of and sing.
And he goes across the crowd, in case you haven't seen the Flaming Lips live yet.
If you're the Flaming Lips, you have about 20 of these. Some of them are more scraped up and have holes in them, whatever. And one year I made this giant giant brain that would speak to the kids when they came into this giant circus tent. By then, it had evolved to a bigger thing. The brain was actually one of these space bubbles that I just put a bunch of rubber on. And I had it attached to a leaf blower, and I had some pre-recorded stuff that I could trigger with my feet. They didn't know it. I was standing at like a table, and I could trigger these things. These kids would walk in, and this giant inflatable brain would say, "Who is this?"
This is amazing, man.
And it's scary. Even though they made it with me, I swear to God, they made it with me the day before. But when they came in and saw it in real life, it still scared them. I looked at them, I was like, "You know how I did it?" Now, I know, but it still scared me. And I have vowed to try to live my life like these kids. And what I mean is to say, you tell me how you make your records. And I'm fascinated. And then when I hear them, the magic isn't gone away. The magic is even better, like those kids. They know it wasn't real, and yet they still allowed themselves to be blown away by it and scared. And so for me, I'm doing this thing, but I'm learning so much about the joy of life and surprises and what really scares little kids.
And while this was happening, Google Maps vehicle came by. Is that?
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, but see, I wasn't aware of it at the time. I was just out in my yard. So anybody that sees that, they're like, "Why?"
And this is the yard where you shot Christmas on Mars. You have a lot of projects going on in this
I
yard.
do. Yeah. I mean, I'm lucky. I have a great, big, weird area, and since nobody cares about what I'm doing, I can mostly just do whatever I want, as long as nobody gets hurt. We said that earlier.
That's right.
So
There's
evidently
limits.
You were taking a bath on this particular day.
No, I had this year was called Blobs in the Bath, and I had several of these bathtubs that we had collected that were in the yard anyway, so I filled them up with this goo. And then I had connected to a drill that had a big balloon on the end of it. You couldn't see the drill. In the very end, I'd hit this drill and it'd go, and this balloon on top of it would shake. So you'd touch the first one, it'd be kind of gooey, and the second one would be more bloody and weird, and you'd touch it. And then when they would just about touch the giant balloon, I'd hit the drill and it just, you already see that they're just, because I'm building it up. I'm like, hold on. Maybe you shouldn't touch it. And they're like, what do you mean? That's a balloon, dude, isn't it? And I'm like, well, and it would work every time.
Wait, hold on 1 second. You designed this all yourself? Like you sat and thought of if I do this, this will happen, and
well, I mean,
that's a lot of know-how, man.
Well, it's ridiculous. Yeah, it's a fun and
you kind of like
I
a
like that
handyman
stuff.
type of
It's
guy.
like the
Yeah,
goodies
for sure.
machine.
Yeah.
See, it's things I didn't know. I didn't know he's into that, man. He's like
Yes.
home and design.
Yeah, and so they were
gooey stuff.
driving by. The Google all-seeing eye was driving by when I was probably in the second day of putting this together, and now I'm forever known as the guy who sits in a bathtub in his front yard. But I'm not sitting in it; I'm standing by it. But the story gets simplified.
So all the stalkers have to do is sort of just go all around Oklahoma City on Google Earth and.
No, if you're a real stalker, you can look at it exactly and see. I mean,
there we go.
they know what they're doing. Yeah.
This next question is from another artist in the crowd. This is another member of Brookzilla, the MC Gorilla Urbano. Cool. This is a question for his bandmate, DJ Prince Paul.
All right. What? I get a question?
Prince Paul, what would you do if you weren't a DJ?
I'd be living in Oklahoma City, helping him build stuff in his yard. What? Scaring kids with giant brains. What? That sounds like fun.
And you would do it too. Yeah, I would. I think it would work.
You heard it here first. Collaboration. Prince Paul, Flaming Lips.
Hey, if it's not
this is the
music,
new
man.
Fwens. It's actually they're going to build something instead of record.
We are. I think we really will. Yeah.
There we go. We have a question from Bauhaus for you. This is from David J. of Bauhaus and Love and Rockets, Wayne.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. Is he here? He's not here.
He's not here. No, he sent this one in to
He's in
us.
Los Angeles. Yeah.
The Lips did a great cover of Love and Rockets' Kundalini Express. Were you thinking Devo when you recorded that?
No, but I.
This is the question I had earlier. Look at that, you're doing it now, man. By actually, it's like, do people misinterpret?
Well, I could see where. If we were able to play it, I think you could see what he means. I mean, it's. We absolutely loved that song. We never got to see Love and Rockets do it when they were around. They weren't around for that long, and they made some really cool records. But we have we do a lot of covers. It's one of the joys of having a recording studio and having friends that know so much about music is you can just do other people's songs. It's a great joy. I don't know why everybody doesn't do it.
Wayne does full records of covers, by the way, not just a song.
Yeah.
Yesterday I was listening to your Stone Roses cover. You've covered the whole Sgt. Pepper's with
in
Miley.
our defense, it's not all us. We ask for anybody that's around us.
Miley Cyrus. You bring in all your creative coders.
Yeah. But anybody that's around us will end up on one of our records, for good or bad, So this Love and Rockets cover, I forget, it was for something. It's probably
McDonald's ad.
Someone was celebrating Love and Rockets' 90th anniversary, and they asked us if we would, what I mean? We always say yes, I said yes to this thing. It's going badly, but I'm still here.
But
it's not your
teeth,
fault.
those teeth.
It's clearly everybody else's fault.
Yeah,
I'm
I knew when I walked
here.
But we have a sort of a default button that Stephen and I push when we don't know what to do with the song. And we'll say, well, let's make the voice a vocoder so it doesn't sound like us or the artist. And there's a record that we like from a long, long time ago by a group called the Flaming Lizards, I think. and it's like a really badly recorded drum machine and somebody playing some out-of-tune guitar or something like that. And he and I will try things, but if we've tried 100 things and it's not working, we always go to this default, and he'll know what I'm talking about. We've done like 3 or 4 songs in that way. So to answer David J., no, but it does remind you of Devo, but and we've also done Devo covers, but I can understand where he might think that. Yeah,
No.
Yeah.
It's art interpreted.
And we know from the talk you did here at Sonos 101G with DJ Premier, we have another huge Devo fan there. Remember, Primo was talking about DJ Premier evidently owned the full Devo suit.
Yeah.
We established that
no
date.
way.
Yeah.
Wow.
So a couple more questions, and then we're going to have to move on. I know you have a
Devo
busy
is
day.
so insanely original, and so
It's so fresh. It was so fresh at the time.
we with David Bowie's birthday yesterday or something, and him.
Wait, isn't your
dying
birthday coming up?
Mine is. Mine's coming Friday. Yeah, exactly.
Wow.
Yeah, I know. I'm in the week of a lot of great birthdays. But reminded of just how original and freaky and bizarre Devo was. You know what I mean? Like, there's Devo, and there's nothing like them at all, and they're making popular records. Insane.
And still, it's still nobody. People have copied elements of their sound, but nobody's that fucking weird, you know?
Yeah.
They've just taken a couple maybe melodic ideas or, but...
just mind-blowing. Yeah. Still is. You hear it now, you're like, what is this? Now, it could have been made yesterday.
This leads me to my next question. This is my last question for you, Paul, which is talking about things that were made a while back that could have been made yesterday. I want to ask you, because it is my theory that you in Stetsasonic invented trap. You invented the trap. Those hi-hats, you know what I'm talking about.
It's bad enough I get blamed for skits, which kind of destroyed the hip-hop album. But, you talk about the triple hi-hat.
Yeah, exactly, man. Exactly.
Yeah, that was a mistake. But nothing is a mistake.
The audience is losing it out here.
But nothing is a mistake.
Are those the guys that are in the group with you?
One of it. We have some great bands out here.
Yeah.
We have some great bands.
So you're serious? It was a mistake.
Yeah. It's one of those things. And that's the beauty of having tape and everything back in the days. And you're right. When you just got a limited resources and time, you got to go.
Yeah.
And you're just like, I just left it. And then all of a sudden you come back like, whoa. Okay, it's not as bad as I thought it was.
That happens a lot. Where in the time what you were intended to do doesn't work, and you feel like, this isn't working. But if you get a fresh look at it, sometimes you hear what you did, and you're like, oh my god.
Yeah, you step back and
it's really
like,
cool.
whoa.
Yeah.
But man, see, I could keep on talking forever. That's why I think the problem sometimes a little bit is with computers, because computers, it will really make you go, that's wrong. That's wrong. That's wrong. That's wrong.
Yeah. Any of that can be a help or can take you into a endless, undecisive world. But I mean, for me, I like the computers because you can just keep changing it if you want. You can redo it, and if you're lucky, you do have other people that have perspective. Someone like a Dave Friedman or Steven, and they're very intense. I've worked with them in the way that I want to, where it's like we're not going to spend all week saying maybe. They're like, nope, doesn't work, and I'm like, but I'm crushed. And now I have to get over it, and that's what you do. You want to know that's working the way I thought, or it's not, and And sometimes, every artist does this. Sometimes you just don't care what anybody thinks.
Oh yeah.
And one out of every 10, I'm like, it's just me standing here. Sometimes it works.
Apparently has worked for you. You know.
What do you get blamed for, Wayne? Prince Paul gets blamed for the skits and hip hop records, and now for inventing trap. Although to me,
I get blamed for making Miley Cyrus. I get blamed for making Miley Cyrus a drug addict. But she was a drug addict long before I met her.
Oh, now this is the juicy stuff. Keep talking.
You've got a sort of a BoJack Horseman situation going on here.
Well, I don't really get blamed for that for anybody that knows her or anybody that's more than 12 years old. But I think people look at me and look at some of the things that we've done together, and they think there's no way Miley would consciously consent to doing that. I must be drugging her and then making her go record with me, make videos with me, and take her on tour. And she's obviously we've drugged her. I mean, if you came backstage, she would be unconscious, and it would be feeding into her arm, and then somehow it's a great drug because she's awake and everything, and it seems like herself. But yeah.
But Wayne, she partied in the USA for so long before she met the Flaming Lips.
Well, that's what I try to remind people. I know, but I think some people just, I mean, regardless of what the truth could be, the truth's more boring anyway. When the image of their beloved, I mean, if you are young enough and you've absolutely embraced that type of music and character and all that, it's a very hard blow to move past that, and you want to blame somebody. I'm a good person to blame. I'll take all the blame. I'll take any blame that they want.
There you go.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
All you have to do is go on Google Earth, find him in the bathtub, figure out the address, send him hate mail. Last question. I've been monitoring
send
your
it
comments.
Now. We'll go through it on the show.
Yeah, thank you so much for everyone who wrote in. This is from Lockie Noble. Hey guys, thanks for doing this live stream. You're welcome. Thank you for watching. Question for Wayne: what's your personal what's your personal favorite Flaming Lips album so far?
Okay.
Mine's either the Soft Bulletin or the Terror. Looking forward to Oxy Melody.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it probably would be the Soft Bulletin, just because it's always with us, and it's always part of when those songs, like I was talking about earlier, Do You Realize isn't on that record, but it's of that same sort of ilk, songs that absolutely penetrate people all the way to their core. I'll be talking to someone, and I won't know what their situation is, and we'll be talking for a while, and he'll say, that song, A Spoonful Weighs a Ton, it's on the Soft Bulletin. When my brother died of cancer, there was these things that we said to each other in your song, and there's just some unspeakable language that record puts out there that I think when people have those situations and that kind of internal, you want to hate life, but you can't, because life is beautiful, and yet why do horrible things assail you, and how are you supposed to? And music is there to say, I know. It doesn't give you an answer. It doesn't do anything other than say, I know. I agree with you. And there's things on the Soft Bulletin that I think do that. That's not because we know what we're doing. I think we were accidentally following our desires and our creativity, and something happened that allowed that to be in there. And I don't think I could ever purposely do it again, And that's so, to me, it is magic too. I mean, it's an old record now. I mean, we started recording it at the end of 1996, so it's a long time ago. And sometimes even when I hear it now, I go, man, those dudes, they got something going on.
Now, I felt like I heard a little bit of that in Oxy Melody, though. I
think you probably. I mean, luckily, it's a thing that we like and that we embrace and all that. But music has that, that magic thing, and it is a universal language, and when people are experiencing real profound sadness, they don't want to be told everything's going to be all right, let's go party. They want to hear about how sad you are and how you get through your sadness and what is sadness and what is that. And I think the Soft Bulletin magically does that. It really. That's true. And so I think we're very lucky to be the human beings that get to stand here and say, yeah, well, I sang on that record for sure.
There you go, Lockie. Yeah. And we have to cut this off. I just want to say thank you so much, just because of timing. Thank you so much to Joe and Morgan for filming today.
Yeah, and it was such a great combination. I couldn't have.
Oh no, this was fun.
They asked me who, and I was like, I don't know. And then they picked you, and I was like, well, let's see what happens. It couldn't have been better.
Oh man, it was great. Man.
It couldn't have been better.
Look.
Prince Paul.
I've learned so
Wayne.
much.
Yes.
Thank you so much to Mark Yoshizumi, our engineer, for running audio on this. And welcome to New York, Mark. He just moved here the day before yesterday. Here he is.
People here are going to defeat you, man. Yeah, they're tough.
Now, Wayne and Paul, would you help me do one thing before we sign off?
Sure. I just agreed.
We have Trent Reznor's new favorite band, Kite Bass, in the audience.
Kite
Bass.
Bass.
Yeah, it's Nixie from Savages, and it's
Wow.
Kendra whose birthday it is today. I was wondering if you could help me sing happy birthday to kite bassist Kendra.
Kendra, yeah.
Yeah.
Happy birthday
to you. Happy birthday to you.
Ooh.
Happy birthday, dear Kendra.
Of Trent Reznor's new favorite band, Kite Bass. Happy birthday to you. Wow,
Yeah.
barbershop quartet on us there, yeah.
Thank you so much,
Yeah.
everyone, for watching. Check out Tommy Stinson of The Replacements in conversation with Wayne Kramer of the MC5 this week on the Talkhouse. Peace.
That was out auto-tune.
Hey, that was great.
All right. Awesome, man. That was so great, guys.
Wow, that was fun.